but we're also meeting on the land of the Australian politic. 5 minutes walk up the road was where the decision was taken to have the Royal Commission into Child Abuse by former Prime Minister Julia Gillard. This is a city of big ideas and big politics, and certainly what we're talking about today is big politics, and within the biggest political organisation that I've ever worked for, the Australian Catholic Church and the Universal Church. So, my understanding, I've been asked today to talk briefly about an idea for a Catholic summit, a summit organised by Catholics, not the bishops. This came out of a discussion with concerned Catholics, and I opened my big mouth and started talking about the fact that if we're looking for a crash-through idea, maybe we should get on and have our own plenary council and our own national summit. Since I've made that observation and I've had the opportunity to listen to Stephen, it seems to me one of the things we should be doing today in this communique is fully supporting the conference that Stephen and his colleagues are working on. They've got the budget, they've got the firepower, and I think the other part of the communique clearly says we need it this year, not in 12 months' time, and I think that's the key event. We need to say to the bishops, this is a butting of heads, sorry guys, we want it now, and we're going to do it. Now, I don't know the politics of that, but we can find another venue if they want to use the Australian Catholic University.
I neglected to say that the University of Divinity in Melbourne has agreed to co-host the whole event, so they've stepped in. I forgot to say.
Who stepped in?
The University of Divinity in Melbourne, which of course is ecumenical and is therefore not under the control of the bishops.
Yeah. So it seems to me, before I talk about what my second idea is, the first idea when we first raised this was very much in line with what Stephen was talking about, and I don't see any need to reinvent the wheel on that. I think it's a good way of kicking off, to use one of John's football analogies, and I think you'll kick some goals in getting a really good foundation for the discussion we're going to have now, apparently over 3 years instead of 2. Before I heard Stephen, I'd been thinking about this conference and my original idea, and it seems to me that I was thinking more that something would come a bit later in the process, in the sense of a real critique of that conference and everything else that's gone on around the parishes in the church. A critique which would really be a public and transparent airing of the Catholic Church's response. Processes, whether they've been fair income, whether we've really made some real progress, and whether anything is going to change. It's all very well to have great meetings and come up with recommendations if it's not going to go anywhere. And if that's where we end up after 2 years of talking, we should be saying it loud and clear to the Australian public and also to the Australian Catholics, and say, really, this is not good enough. So that's my concept of what a second conference, if we decide to have one, or a summit, as Mark very cleverly changed the language. Now, before I stop, there's another idea I've heard today about this House of Laity, I think was used. I would be suggesting that that's something we should broaden and say House of the Australian Catholic People, so we can include priests and people that Ben was talking about, any non-practicing Catholics, anyone who wants to join. We should be looking at investigating, establishing a House of the Australian Catholic People with the concept, you are, I am, we all are Australians. You are Catholic, I am Catholic, I am an Australian Catholic. So that concept of a totally non-bishop oversighted organisation seems to me that is the big idea that could be coming out of today. That's what I'm taking. And this is where the ideas start, and you'd start the political communication process, and this is what this city is all about. So welcome to Canberra and the big idea.
Thank you, Kevin. It's really great time, exactly on 5 minutes. Comments, please.
Was this very notion of a Conference of Australian Catholic laity. In other words, our own opportunity to identify and develop the issues that were critical for people in the pews. And I think what they are is another issue to be discussed. But I said to a couple of you that the discussion last night, which was a bit of the or rather than the and, is not quite the Pope Francis approach. You know, it's not a question of are we in the plenary or are we doing our own thing. We can actually do both.
Yes.
And that's a sensible strategy to me until we decide that our time and energy is being wasted on the plenary. And I think we need to test very quickly with the bishops whether they are serious about the involvement of those who have different views and taking from those who have perspectives that are lay. And my view is that we should very simply say to them, as long as he's willing to do it, please appoint Francis Sullivan as the co-chair of the plenary along with Archbishop Costello. Now, if there's a problem under canon law in doing that, stop the plenary, call it a gathering. But let's ask them to do something tangible to show that they're prepared to come some way to meet us. We're not asking them to agree to ordain women or anything. It's just show us some sign. We can Well, no, you misunderstand me. I'm saying in this communique we're not asking that. We're not asking a tough question of them like that. We're just asking them a joint leadership question. And I think we need to get on with it. I think it'll take more than 12 months to organise. I think we need to be realistic about that. If we're going to be inclusive, if we're going to try and engage Catholics from across Australia, give everyone a fair go, we need some feedback. It just can't be our ideas about what the topics are. You know, we haven't talked about what catechists teach our kids in primary school. And there's a big issue for us. So let's just take that as a suggestion.
Thanks, Michael.